Hello and welcome back to the history of video games. My name is Ben, and today I am alone. No, it's all right. It's all right. I thought, Wes and I are both really busy this week, and we just couldn't get out a full episode for you guys. But I did have enough time to maybe do another music cast, which is something I've been kind of wanting to do. I think the last one was pretty cool. So hopefully you guys will kind of like this and we'll hold you over for a week. So if you are new to the music cast, if you didn't listen to the first one, basically I'm just going to kind of nerd out about the music from the podcast that I've recorded and arranged. And we'll just kind of give some background behind a couple of the songs, highlight some of my favorite ones, and just kind of nerd out about them. All right, so let's start out with one that I just really enjoyed doing and that I just think came out really good. The song is Barracuda from the band Heart, and I picked it off of the Guitar Hero 3 soundtrack, which is my reason for getting away with being able to do this cover. But after doing the cover, I just really enjoyed the way it sounded and came out, so much so that I even showed it off to coworkers and stuff, which I don't usually do for my recordings. So this one I just thought really came out really, really well. And something kind of interesting about the song that you might not know about it, the song sounds a little heavier than the original. And that's not just the drums, which are obviously going crazy, but the guitars themselves sound a little heavier. And I think it's actually because even though I recorded it in E standard, which means E is the lowest note, that's the key of the original song, my guitar is actually tuned in drop D. So instead of playing all those open fast strumming parts on the open string, I was actually doing it on the second fret. And there's just something about playing it in a lower tuning on the second fret, even though it's the same note as playing it on the open tuning. There's something about having that string actually detuned that makes it the sound quality a little different, and in my opinion I think it made it just a little bit heavier sounding. So I think that might be why when I was listening to it again, I was like, wait a minute, did I record this in the original key or did I do it in drop D? The guitar was definitely in drop D because I'm lazy and my guitar has tuning locks, so I try not to tune it if I can get away with it, because otherwise I had to break out the Allen wrenches, and I don't want to do that. So I'm lazy. So that's really all I have to say about it. But if you hear with the guitars, I think they sound a little heavier because of that fact, and I actually think it helped the song even better. So, and also really quick before I end it, I want to give maybe a quick little tidbit for next week. I'm picking my next song that you guys will hear next week from Rock Band 4. It'll be a cover of another real song. I think that might, give you a little bit of hints of what maybe it could be. Look through the soundtrack and, definitely give it a good old guess. But you'll hear that next week. So without further ado, let's take a look. Listen to Barracuda. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I mentioned, it's just one of my favorites that I've done since I've done this last. Let me talk about another one that I just really enjoyed doing. This one is from the game Hades, and it's called Through Asmodao. And this is actually one that Wes recommended to me. He was like, Ben, I've been playing Hades, and the soundtrack is awesome. You got to do a cover of one. And, I had never played Hades. I didn't know anything about it. And, sometimes Wes recommends me stuff and I just never get around to looking at it, but this was one that I actually did finally take some time and check it out, and I'm really glad I did because the soundtrack is awesome, and this song in particular was a really cool song and just made for a great cover. And I'm just really happy about how this one came out too. It's kind of similar to the original track, but heavier in the ways that I like to make things heavier. So I just really like it. It's one of those riffs that span a fair amount of the fretboard, multiple octaves, which I always enjoy those kinds of riffs. I had one in the last music cast that we did. And yeah, so this is a Wes one that I, took his recommendation and made it into something that I would enjoy too. And I think it just came out really well. So take a listen to Through Asmodel from the game Hades. All right, let's move on to like the main part of what I wanted to talk about with this music cast. I think last time I did the music cast, I mentioned the audio engineering side of things and how I had previously, redone my setup multiple times to become a better audio engineer and make things sound better and easier to use. And I haven't had to do that since, which has been very good. But I've been improving my writing and recording capabilities in other ways, mainly because I bought a string pack. The string pack I bought is called Cinematic Solo Strings. I believe Cinemax Studios is the actual company, even though that all sounds like one branding package, but it's actually their like solo strings package. And I got that for the Black Friday sale, which didn't really help that much, but it helped a little bit. And I've been just learning how to use that software and trying to figure out how exactly I want to use these sounds, because for those of you who are not into music engineering, it's not just like you open up the program, you plug in some notes, and it's going to sound amazing right away. There's so many different things to make it sound more human, or so many scenarios where you think, is this the moment where I should be using this? Should I be using it in a different way? Do I want the note to be played on a violin, or do I want it to be played really high on a cello? Maybe they both can do it. So you just have to kind of learn which one is appropriate for whatever scenario. And so my first song I did with the solo strings was Elwyn Forest from WoW, which I think came out okay. I spent a little bit extra time on that one. And then the first one where I did in basically one sitting was this song from Battletoads. I believe it's a cutscene song. It plays whenever cutscenes are happening. And at the time, I was just kind of, I had just gotten the program, and I was just like, I'm just going to throw in strings everywhere and just learn this program. And I think the Battletoads song was like the first time I was like, okay, that didn't work. The strings just don't fit there. I was trying to make them be like part of the melody, and it just wasn't happening. Or, I basically ran out of time and I just had to leave them in there. But despite that, the Battletoads riff, the guitars are going to be playing, as you'll hear it here. I love that riff. I play it all the time. So I have a kind of a love-hate relationship with this song. It is like the first real example of me experimenting with string sounds. And because of that, I think the strings are pretty bad. But I also love the guitar part, and I play it even to this day. I know it by heart still. So yeah, this is an interesting one to listen to. And then to follow this one up, I'm going to play a second one back to back here. The second one I want to play is a more recent example of the strings. It'll be, I believe it's the main theme from the game Victor Vran. And this one I did just a couple weeks ago, and I think it is much better sounding, and the strings are used much more appropriately. it makes everything kind of have a haunted house vibe in this case, which I really enjoyed. And I've just, over the past few months, really learned how to use the software really well. So, for instance, all the strings are slightly delayed in when the note gets produced. So I think in Battletoads, it probably sounded a little bit delayed. But in Victor Vran's song, the second one that you hear, I actually moved all the notes up by about 10 milliseconds so that they're in time with the rest of the band. And that's just like one little trick I've had to learn. But I've also started to really experiment with vibrato and controlling that, and just getting to used to the program, so it's a lot faster and easier to use. And that's been my main focus, and I feel much more confident about that than I used to. So I think these two songs are really represent kind of where I was and where I am now. So take a listen. All right, and I'm going to share with you guys one more. This one is from the game Fallen Legion. It's probably my favorite soundtrack, along with maybe Super Black Onyx, that I've found since the last time I've done the music cast. And man, the title kind of song from this one is called Period Blood and Roses. It's just so good. It's just one of those where it's impossible for me to mess it up. I can basically just copy what they do, and it's just going to sound amazing. And this one was an early one with the strings where the strings just fit in perfectly. It's definitely one of my favorites I've ever done, and it's definitely one that I'm going to revisit and even extend in the probably near future. I'm also looking at some other tracks from that soundtrack just because I really, really loved it. I have no idea what the game's about. I've never played it, as is the case with actually the majority of the songs that I pick for the podcast nowadays. You know, the ones that I know really well, I've probably already done a song from at this point. So most of these games I'm picking out kind of at random. And whenever you find one that's just super good, man, it just feels amazing. So this one is probably my favorite that I've done in the past, I don't know, 6 months. It has strings, it has guitars, it has everything that I want it. And I think it also showcases what the end result is going to be with these string sounds. You know, they're not going to be used in every song all the time, but they're going to be really effective in moments where I feel like they could be useful. And that's something I'm still learning about. But I think this song is a great example of how pivotal a role and addition it has been to, you know, just the variety of sounds that I can choose from when making these songs. I know this was kind of a short little episode here, but if you have any questions about anything like music related, please send us an email and I'll answer it for you. Also, to celebrate this, I've went back to the website and I've added 10 more songs in the music listing section so you can see exactly what covers I've done and when. It includes a lot of the ones that I've shared with you guys today, but some also good ones like songs from Quake and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Space Station Silicon Valley and Blast Corps and all these other great ones that I've done. So please check it out. Also, really quick before you listen to that final song, I'm going to give a quick sneak peek into what I'm going to be learning next now that I feel much better about the strings. So here's that sneak peek, and then Period Blood and Roses from Fallen Legion. Enjoy, and we'll catch you guys next week.